Hey everyone, welcome to your Enneagram Coach, the podcast. I'm Beth McCord, your Enneagram Coach. And today is going to be a really fun day because this is the last in our series of listening to all 9 type moms and what the journey of motherhood is like for them. So today is type 8. And I really had so much fun with our 2 guests because one I've known for a really long time and the other is one of our coaches. And I really feel that so often type 8s are misunderstood. And I want people to see the heart of an 8. A lot of times they're putting up a really strong exterior because they are concerned or afraid that someone might blindside them, betray them, harm them, control them, or their family. And so they are ready at any moment to be strong, to be assertive, and to make sure that everyone is okay. Now, what you're going to hear today is some really key information on why 8s do what they do as moms and their growth path. So today was a really fun conversation listening to these 2 dear friends of mine. I know that you are going to really enjoy it as well. But I also highly recommend that you get my new book, The Enneagram for Moms. And in the back half of the book, I explain motherhood and the journey of growth for each of the 9 types. And that's going to be helpful no matter what type you are. So you can go back there, see your strengths, your liabilities, but also how to understand it and actually use it for growth. Because when we are self regulated as moms and we can show up, or parents, and we can show up with a non anxious, connected presence, we can do so much incredible good no matter what Enneagram type our kiddos are. So join me with my new book coming out July 9th by getting it at enneagramformoms.com. Plus, when you pre-order, you can get lots of really cool bonuses at the same website, enneagramformoms.com. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce you to my 2 friends, the type 8 moms. All right, so here we are, 2 type 8s that have been growing, their children or are in the process. So can you guys introduce yourselves? Amanda, let's start with you.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Amanda. Obviously, I'm an Enneagram 8. I have a very strong 9 wing. I am married to Greg for almost 30 years. This August will be 30 years for us. He's a type
Yay.
3. So, as was referenced in your type 3 mom podcast, a very powerhouse couple of getting things done. There's a joke when I was pregnant, 9 months pregnant with our daughter. We were putting her crib together with friends, and the joke was, achieve, you must achieve. She was like in utero then, and it's been the joke
Yeah.
forever. So that's our parenting style pretty much. But almost 30 years, 1 daughter who's in medical school now, and we live in Auburn, Alabama. Just moved here this past year from Texas, where we've lived for pretty much those 30 years. So Auburn's my alumni, and that's where Samantha is in medical school. So we're here at her invitation, which was very nice. She's our one and only, and she asked us to join her while she was here. So we did gladly. So yeah, and she's the one that introduced me to the Enneagram. So for the majority of her growing up, she was a sophomore in college when she sent me a podcast with an invitation to understand her better. And that was the Asleep at Last song series. So it was what got me started, and I was hooked because I saw it from the beginning of how correct it was. So yeah, she was the one that introduced me to it and jumped all in, and eventually became a coach with you at YEC, certified Enneagram coach. And my coaching company is called Seasons Coaching because I like to coach young adults who are in that season, especially of their life, but anyone that's in the early part of a seasonal change. If you can begin to understand yourself and others better, I think it really sets you up well. So
Yeah,
that's my story.
that's a really great way of naming it, Seasons Coaching. I love that.
Thank you.
That's great. Lindsay, what about you?
Hey, so Lindsay Castleman. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've been in Nashville actually all my life. So I am a unicorn that's
Yeah, I was going
actually
to say you're one of the unicorns here.
totally, totally. Excuse me. So I have been married to my husband, Kevin, for 20 years, and we dated 7 before that. So we've been together for
Wow.
quite a long time. And Kevin is an Enneagram 6, which it was the Enneagram that he said, oh my gosh, this gives me language to how I'm feeling on the inside.
Mm.
And so that was a really big moment for him in that way.
Mhm.
And big for both of us, honestly, because I sat back thinking, like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, you just won't make a decision and go for it, And so then it goes, oh, okay, this makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Yeah.
we both have a 9-year-old boy named Wesley, and so he is our only, and so we're in the elementary school stages of parenting right now, which is a blast and also challenging. So that's kind of
Mhm.
every season, going back to seasons, every season, we've got some beauty in it and we've got challenges in it as
Yeah.
well. Currently, I run the Counseling Center at Fellowship here in Brentwood, Tennessee. Have some awesome counselors that work with me.
Mhm.
Mm.
And then also, I run a marriage intensive and then a training area for therapists. And that's with a company called In Relationship that we do. And so we do marriage intensives and then help therapists learn how to really sit with people, especially through the lens of faith and attachment. So it's really important to me. And that's too why I was so
Mm.
drawn to Beth and Jeff and everybody at your Enneagram coach, because I was really looking for just that attachment to God and how does that relate. And so, as everybody knows, they do a wonderful job of
Mhm.
talking about that and incorporating faith into all the components of the Enneagram. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, and Lindsay was our events director for a season
Woo!
back when we
Wow.
were doing Becoming Us book live events. That was before COVID shut it all
Yes.
down. But we had so much fun. We were
Oh
going
my
from
gosh.
town to town to town, and we were having blast in the hotels and all the fun things.
And
And
our after parties. Yeah.
you
Uh-huh.
ran a really awesome tight ship. I so
Yeah.
appreciate it. I knew I could just kinda come in and you would just say, "Okay, this is where you need to be and this is what you need to do," and I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah. We
So,
had so much fun. It was a great season of life. I loved it.
it really it really was. Maybe we'll get back there someday now that
Right.
COVID is hopefully behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's dive into being type 8 moms.
Yes.
First, I wanna talk about now that you understand the Enneagram really well, and and you guys are really good at knowing your strengths, but now that you know the Enneagram well and you know how other people can tend, unfortunately, to misunderstand 8s, right?
Mm.
A lot of times they think they're too abrasive or too blunt or too this or too that. But it's also some of your greatest strengths. So I'd love for you personally to describe what your strengths are, but also kind of maybe even give little stories or examples to help people to really kind of see more clearly why those are strengths for you, just to really connect the dots, I would say. So, who wants to go first?
Lindsay, you want to go?
Sure, sure. I can say for me, and I'm fortunate because Wesley was itty bitty when I discovered the Enneagram. So I'm really, really thankful for that. And even um, before Wesley was born, we read some great books, even just on attachment. And so being able
Mhm.
to see parenting just through that lens has been great. And also to bring in the curiosity of just like, man, everybody, like God gave everybody so many different strengths, so many different, abilities, different giftings. And I'm like, ooh, like I want to help unlock and see like what's Wesley's gift? Like, what is that? And
Mhm.
knowing it won't be mine, and that's okay. There's all different parts of the body of Christ, but like, who did God create him to be? And making sure and trying to protect against that it's not me putting what I think it should be on him. But then for me, I am fiercely protective of his little heart. And so that
Mm.
sometimes can come to a detriment where, I mean, I remember one time when he was like in kindergarten and he came off the bus and he said, like, some kid made fun of him. And I was like, that kid, I'm just going to kick his hind. Like, but I was saying it out loud. And then he like looked at me. I said something. I mean, this is horrible, but I was like essentially like I'm gonna go after that kid. Like it was my inner thought came out, and
Yeah.
he looked at me, and I was going, "Oh no, I should not have said that out loud." Like I should, because he's like, "Oh, like you go beat him up," and I'm like, "No, like wait." And I was like, "No, mommy's just trying to be protective of you. I don't like it when people pick on
Yes.
you." But like I got to do it in a more constructive way. So having to also monitor some of those just things that want to fly out on an
Mhm.
impulse, but they're protective. But some of that even comes down to, and Kevin would tell you this, my husband would tell you this, that there are times where, because I'm so protective of Wesley's heart, I try to attune to it. I try to have empathy for it, to know what could he be feeling in the moment.
Mm.
And so there have been times where like Kevin's six, fears start to
Mhm.
go, and I can tell that that is coming on to Wesley. So I'll even kind of
Mhm.
step in and be like, hey, we'll come talk about that over here, if that makes sense, like just
Yeah.
moving in to go, hey, he's little, like he doesn't need to worry about these things, or he needs to just go be free and play and not be bogged
Yeah.
down by that. So that's what I would say for me is really big, is like I'm fiercely protective of
Mhm.
his heart and making sure that he's not having to carry things that is not his to carry, that he's
Mhm.
not feeling like he's alone, and that I'm going to be that safer one that will protect him kind of no matter
Mhm.
what. Um,
Yeah. That makes sense. And I want to, Amanda, before you jump in, I love to share this one story. So on the YEC team, we, have like yearly strategy meetings. And this was Lindsay, when you were going to jump on board and lead us with the events, or I think it might have been one of the other things that we were doing.
yeah,
But I remember us talking about, actually, this may have been, I think this was when we were putting together the material for Becoming Us. Anyway, it doesn't really matter what it was.
yes,
You were there,
yes,
and we are talking about parenting for some reason. And Danielle Smith, who's one of our, closest,
mhm,
dearest friends and has worked
yes,
for YEC in the past too, she was like, yeah, when Jimmy and her are both nines and
mhm,
married, when we're putting our kids to bed, we pray for them, and we're praying that they're empathetic and kind and gentle. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, like everybody else, that's what I'm thinking. And I remember you chimed in right away, Lindsay. You're like, really?
I'm like, no,
You're like, no, I pray that he's a warrior and that his no be no. And I
uh-huh.
just like stood back with my jaw open, like, fascinating. Like, that's
Yeah,
so interesting. Like, that's
yeah,
someone's prayer. And not in a I'm not saying it from a judgmental standpoint. I was saying it in true, like, being in awe, like, wow, we are so different as parents,
Mhm.
like, our perspectives are different, and how beautiful that is, because I think a lot of times as moms think, why am I their parent? Like, I'm messed up, or I'm not the right personality, or whatever. And it's like, no, God made you your personality to be your kid's
Mhm.
mom, no matter what personality they are. And I felt that more in that moment than anything. Like, wow,
Mhm.
God gave you Wesley because
Mhm.
he wanted a mom that was fiercely protected and protective. And just the way you pray over him, I thought was so cool and unique. Do you remember that
oh,
incident?
totally. Yes, yes. It was so funny because I remember looking around being like, you pray for him to be kind, like just kind of the same thing where I'm like, no, like we need to get them out there and be like forces in the world and,
Yeah.
those kind of things. But yeah, it was a good follow up, just so that my prayers have been answered. His no's are no's, So now I'm like on the other side of that one, of going like, okay, like now I'm like, okay, so maybe we need to now add some kindness and
Sure. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. But I think
That's
that's,
good.
so for everyone that's listening, just kind of think through like how do you pray over your kids? And one, how beautiful is that, that you have that perspective, but also what might the other 8 types pray for? And how can we also incorporate those incredible prayers too? Because I've since then, Lindsay, have thought, yeah, I do want Libby and Nate to, when they need to say no, no.
Mhm.
And do it with kindness, do it with compassion. So there's that
Right.
mixture, but
Mm.
to realize there's more than just what I'm praying for or like how my mind works. And so anyway, that was really a fun eye-opening experience for
Mm.
me. Okay. So Amanda, love to hear your perspective of the strengths of a type 8 mom.
Well, just tagging on to those, there's so many thoughts because, like, yes, that would be my prayer as well. So, and you want them to speak up for themselves, especially coming from an 8 perspective. So, can definitely understand that. Like I said, I learned of the Enneagram later in life when
Mhm.
Samantha was in a sophomore in college. So I didn't have that lens or that those thought processes when we were raising her. It's intriguing to look back and see that and kind of see the certain trends. We certainly raised her in a faith-based house and wanted her to know and love Jesus and be a follower. So we had that framework for sure, which certainly aligns with a lot of help from the Enneagram. Um, so I think I wanted her to know what a capable woman was. That was certainly
Mhm.
one of the intentions of how I wanted to raise her. And Greg as well, my husband, he, you know, chose me to pursue because I was a strong woman. And that's what he
Mm.
wanted. So he very much wanted that for his daughter. So I believe I modeled that well, the energy, the intensity of an 8, putting that into action for projects with school, projects with church, leading ministries. When I stopped working and stayed at home, was always busy either doing um, contract work or volunteer work. So I think she definitely saw someone who was using their strengths for the good, which is very important to
Mm.
me. So I
Mhm.
wanted her very protective, understand that completely as an 8, protective of her, protective, in her school life and with friends, but definitely not a helicopter parent. And most
Mm.
moms wouldn't be for sure. Wanted to teach her to advocate for herself, to be able to stand up for herself. She is a type 2. And so she often, now that we have this language and understand each other better, she'll, not assert herself as much in deference to others. But she has said that she can hear my voice in her head. And that's a good thing,
Mhm.
evidently. It's not like a bad thing.
That's good.
And that she knows that she can picture when I'm modeled being assertive and standing up for myself, and she can use that modeling when she needs to. And that really made
Mhm.
my heart happy about that.
Yeah.
There are some drawbacks to that, I know, because she was leading a mission trip over to Mongolia, so they flew through China, and she's in college, and she calls me and she said, "We missed our flight." And we talked later. I mean, we didn't talk about this deep in the moment, but she expected me to step in and kind of handle it because that's what I do. And I was like, well, yeah, well, you'll figure it out. I mean, I'm sure you're going to get back home, go. I mean, we traveled a lot. We had her lead us to the gates so she could find her way through international airports, all of that prepping
Mhm.
for evidently this. And she was stunned. And she said she was so mad at me because I didn't step in to help her. And she's overseas, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. Just keep me posted. And of course, she made it back. She handled it great. but that was not what she expected. And that was definitely made an impression for her. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I
And
think, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, what's so fun about that is, type twos, they, want to help everyone else, but they also secretly want someone to kind of like come in and save the day for them too, to lift that burden. But I love how you were confident in her. Like,
Mhm.
I've set you up, I've guided you, you've got this, keep me posted. And I mean, obviously, any young college student's going to want their moms to
Yeah,
fix the situation, and you do
yeah,
such a
and at
good job
least
of it.
speak into it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I love that you gave her that space to figure it out on her own, to build that confidence and assurance that, especially as a two, that she can care for herself. So I think
Mhm.
that that's a really beautiful story. Anyway, you were going to say something else.
I was going to say, I know you've used the imagery of snowplow for an 8. And I think that's really
Mhm.
good because it's a good imagery if you start to go off track and nick the people around you or nick the cars around you when you're not in health. Definitely was more of a bulldozer before I became more self-aware through the Enneagram.
Mhm.
And probably people would describe that for that pre-Enneagram raising a child phase of more of a bulldozer. In fact, when we were dating, Greg ever so often would make this blub, 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 blub sound. And for the longest, he wouldn't tell me what it was, and it made me mad. And finally, I was like,
Uh-huh.
"What is that?" And he's like, "It's a bulldozer." So that was like 1993, years before knowing the Enneagram. So when that came up in the
Yeah.
Enneagram language, I was like, "Oh, he nailed it." But anyway,
Mhm.
healthy is more of a snowplow.
Yeah,
But yeah.
exactly. Which is I just love that analogy because, like Lindsay, like that's what you did for us with the tours. Like you literally plowed a path for
Mhm.
us, to get from place to place, to talk with all the people, get all the things set up. There just wasn't any issues. Though I do remember that one time. Remember when the caterers like didn't have the order or whatever, but you guys totally figured it out. And
Oh my gosh,
it's
we were
still
freaking out. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but you figured it out and it showed up and it was fine and it was great and,
Oh, I know. We
but
were
I do
like, I think it was, we were like, Libby, you got to like
yeah.
discreetly tell your parents, like discreetly
Yeah,
tell Beth and Jeff. Don't,
this is what's
and if
happening.
you can like prolong the VIP discussion, that'd be great because we gotta get some food in here, but that
Yeah.
was the beauty is like, man, the
Mhm,
team too. I think the team with that is just everybody working together. Like the VIP
mhm.
people never even knew.
Yeah,
They
they
never
didn't.
knew that
Yeah,
we had food, like a great spread of food that was showing up. And then, I mean, it still was a great spread of food. It just was last minute
was
and took a lot
different.
of people. Yeah, very.
Yeah, which was I mean, I love and when actually Libby did tell me, I just knew. I was like, "Yeah, Lindsay's got it. Like, she'll figure it
Mhm.
out. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know what's gonna happen, but it'll be okay."
yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think that's a testimony to a healthy 8 that is plowing a path for you.
Hmm.
And I think that's what kids experience also with healthy moms that are 8s.
Mhm.
But we're obviously talking about Enneagram for moms in the
Sure.
book. But like you said, Amanda, type 8s, though they're amazing when they're plowing a path for us, can nick people on the side of the roads or
Yeah,
sometimes
it's
even
been
plow
known to
over them.
happen.
So, and like all of us moms, we have our strengths and our weaknesses. My weaknesses would be more on the side of disengaging, people pleasing, trying to accommodate to the nth degree,
Mhm.
all that stuff. So, for you all, let's talk about some of the ways that it can get to be, average. You have really good intentions, but it's starting to kind of hurt people. And then what's it like when it's really not helpful, and you're really kind of hurting people, whether you've noticed it or not. So, Lindsay, why don't we start with you?
Sure. The first thing that just popped up, Beth, honestly, is like I can get easily frustrated with other parents or moms that I feel like don't have the same capacity, because I
Mm,
can sit back and look and go, why am I doing all of this? Like, why is it me doing
mhm,
all of this? Or I can get really frustrated with other moms that I don't feel like are also protecting their kids' hearts. They're more self-protective. Um, so that's where like
Yeah.
these feelings of judgment can come in and things like that that can be, and some of the judgment though honestly is not, it's not wrong, you know what I'm saying, like
Hmm.
there's truth to it, but I can feel what can start to happen is I can create this like wall between me and the other person where I just like in my mind I go, nope, like
Hmm.
we're too different. I can't, it's really going back to Beth, the word you used before, trust. Like I can't trust you. And if I can't
Yeah.
trust you, that foundation's just not there for me. And then I'm like, this is sounding so callous, but I'm like, I then don't really have time to want,
Hmm.
like, I don't want to develop that relationship. One, because I mean, I'm thankful, but there's just a lot of things that can take up my time. Like I usually have a lot of things on my plate at one time because I can't handle it, but I can sit back at times and go like where is everybody? Like why
Hmm.
am I left holding all of this? So that can be really tough for me in my relationship with other moms as well, but I also have to watch it in the sense of assuming how much capacity my son has, and I have to remember his capacity at each age and stage is going to be different. It's going to grow over time. Um, and like
Mm.
keep being mindful of that as well.
Hmm. That's really, really good because there's another type 8 mom in Nashville that I've coached, and man, her and her husband were awesome. They were really learning about the Enneagram, about themselves, and they were about to take a trip overseas with their 2 kids. And they had just recently realized that their son, who was like early teenage years, was a type 5. And it was just this big aha moment of, and I
Mm.
think her husband, I can't remember, but he may have been like a 3-ish, somewhere kind of in like, let's get things done. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going over to Europe, and it's not like, hey, let's just, go read and like spend time, chilling. It's like they've got like fun agenda things happening.
Yeah.
So when so anyway, we talked about it, and she, we kind of helped navigate, okay, what does her son need? He is not going to need to be with the family all of that time. That's going to wear
Mhm.
him out. It's going to
Right.
spin him out. It's going to spin them out. Anyway, they went, and I just was so tickled when she came back. She said, "Beth, it was amazing. We asked him what he needed, how much time he needed, to recharge, to read, but we also told him way ahead of time, like, hey, but we are going to go to this dinner at this time. Let us know if you need something beforehand." And like they just said it was the best vacation they've had as a family. And I was just like cheering them on. I was like, good job. Because you're right. Like a type 8 has so much energy and capacity. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
more than anyone on the Enneagram. I mean, I know 3s and 7s might try to compete for it. But I really do think you guys have so much capacity, and that can be really irritating and frustrating for type 8s, especially with kids. Like, what if you had a type 9 child that's like me, lollygagging through like,
Yeah.
it's like, let's
Yeah.
go, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't want to keep going. Like, can't we just chill and relax? Um, and so have you guys experienced that as well, Amanda, like with a type 2? I mean,
Mhm.
they can be pretty much go-getters too.
Yeah.
Did
She
you
definitely
find
has
that
a
she
good
was
3 wing. Sorry, go
okay?
ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, did she keep up with you all, and now you're recognizing she was keeping up with you all, or is that just her natural cadence even now, or uh,
Yeah.
did she reflect back to you guys like, "Hey, little too much energy, let's slow it
Yeah.
down"?
She did not reflect that. She kept up and did a fabulous job. And the travel story is great for us as well, as far as noticing things as we became more aware of our types and giving each other space. Because when she was younger and
Yeah,
we traveled, yeah, it was pretty much expecting her just to keep up with a 3 and an 8, even though we didn't know that's what we were. But that is who we
right.
were. And she accommodated us greatly and was great. She's an easy child. And it's easy to, when you're not totally aware, just take that for granted. I know there's
Yeah.
hurt and pain that comes from that, from the child's point of view, and totally have heart and empathy for that as I'm learning more about it. But as she got older, and I think, of course, for an 8, control is huge. I'm a
Mm.
great trip planner, especially when I've given them full reins of the schedule, and it's the great trips. And but as I've gotten older, and I've started leaning into more of the peace and quiet of my 9 wing, and wanting that more, and wanting to go and go and go less. I'm letting myself do that more. So
Mm.
it's been more relaxed travel and downtime, and giving her time to do
Mm.
her thing, especially now that she's older and she can go do her own thing. So
Mhm.
I think control and trust were huge for me. Lindsay talked about the where is everybody else, and those frustrations with moms. For me, it was more not letting go of projects or things like that with the volunteer work, because I just didn't trust anybody. And
Yeah.
that's hard to live with that much control factor in parenting, and just life in general. So that's gotten better, the more
Mhm.
self-aware. I think the phrase too much has always rung in my head, especially as I became more aware.
Mm.
The Enneagram came first, and that led me into 3 years of therapy with an EMDR therapist who was very much Enneagram focused, and also a type 8 female. So
Mm.
that was important to me because I knew she would
Yeah.
understand me.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that whole journey has been rewarding, I think, for our whole family.
Yeah.
And I think one of the, it's like, oh yeah, I'm coming in late to the game here with the Enneagram, and she was already in college, but it's never too late, I think, is a voice I
Yeah.
like to have and speak into. So yeah, I also didn't play a whole lot with her because I'm just not a playful person. And now I
Mm.
understand more why. But Greg stepped into that. We were a good team. And so, yeah, those were some of the, less glamorous parts of the 8 mom, of like, that were probably a burden. And I think the high
Mm.
expectations that we probably as type 8s put on ourselves and others are a pro and a con. It's a strength and a weakness as a mom.
Sure.
So learning to tempt those back for myself and others has, and family as well, I think
Mm.
has been a good growth point for that.
One thing that I've heard from several type 8 moms, and I want to phrase this in hopefully the right way. If I don't, please just rephrase it for me. 8s are obviously intense. And a lot of people, that intensity, that energy, that passion that flows through them can land on others as intimidating, too strong, abrasive, or maybe they're feeling like the 8 is angry. And a lot of times 8s feel very misunderstood. And then sometimes they're like, nope, yep, that's how I felt. Like, yeah, I was angry.
Yeah.
Um, from maybe your kid's viewpoint, or from, what you know of yourself as a mom, how did that intensity show up for you? And how do you know it landed on your child? Or if you don't know, how do you think it may have landed on your child? And then what would you recommend to other type 8 moms that are, either just learning about the Enneagram and they know that they have the passion, gets into maybe anger, like Lindsay, you were saying, like that came out of your mouth and oops,
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
gotta dial it back a little bit. So kind of just guide us through what that intensity can look like. And obviously
Mhm.
we know that there's healthy ways, but the less healthy ways and how to navigate that.
Mhm. Yeah, my
Mm.
my sweet kiddo, he has ADHD. And so you can kind of see how that dynamic can play out where I'm someone that's like, no, like we get this thing done. We stay on it until it's done. Like we have the capacity to do it. But
Mm.
learning the capacity that literally, I mean, we even went and had his brain scanned for neurofeedback
Mm.
because that's the route we decided to go to help with the ADHD. But just even seeing his brain map and seeing really what he can and cannot do that has nothing to do with his choices, but everything to do with
Mm.
like he needs me to help him. And
Yeah.
so that there were times where I could feel it welling up in me, especially around sitting with him with homework, where that not focusing, not wanting to get it done, wanting to just check off answers that weren't
Mm.
the right answers just to get it, have it done.
Yeah.
And I like there were times where I'd have to tag out, take a breath, walk away. Especially when it's a day where I have sat with people all day long and then come home and
Mhm.
then we're now doing this. Like I've had to realize when I'm out of my window of tolerance and take a step back, tag Kevin in, or just take a step back and like say, hey, we're going to
Mhm.
break, we're going to move, we're going to come back.
Mhm.
But I like there were times where I was completely out of my window of tolerance and I stayed there and like
Mhm.
would make him just sit and be in it and be in it. And no, we don't give up. We don't quit. We stay in it. Da da da. And then sitting back
Mm.
going,
Mhm.
what the crap was that? Like where did
Mhm.
that come from? Um, and so I'm huge on repair, like moving into
Mhm.
repair, moving into
Mm.
name for Wesley, like, hey, that was mommy, that wasn't you. um so I'm sorry, and next time I'm going to
Mhm.
get up and walk around, or I'm going to whatever, because I want to always name for him. Because if we don't give them a story, then they'll make up
Yeah.
a story, and they'll make
Mhm.
up a story based on what they know about themselves. um, and so we have to help them with that story. So that's where I'm always cognizant of going back to protect his little heart, to kind of
Yeah.
give him a different story, but to say, man, that was on me. And there have been times where I've been in it and he goes, you're going to apologize for that later. And he's right. He was right. I was like, yep, I am. Like I'm out of my window. Like you're right.
Yeah.
And I had to come back, because even in those moments, I'm like, I'm not apologizing, like, and I'm the adult,
Yeah.
and so, but then I've had to come back. Yep, I'm sorry, bud. You're right. Like that was on me.
Mhm.
But I try to do that. I mean, there were even sometimes there's other adults that have come in and have said stuff to Wesley, and Kevin and I are both, really mindful about trying to name it. Like adults shouldn't say that, or that's not what, which is
Mhm.
very different in our Southern culture, where it is a lot of times like if they're older than you, you must respect, they must be right. And y'all, I
Right.
remember the first time where I was like, this person don't feel right to me, and that like that conflicting feeling inside of me that's going, but I'm supposed to respect them, but it doesn't feel like what they're doing or saying is right. And so I'm wanting to
Mm.
try to narrate that for Wesley, but it is hard when, you know, hitting my capacity up against his capacity. That can be a real big where I can like find myself getting flooded and have to take a step back. That intensity will show up,
Mhm.
but it's not needed there, you know.
Well, I remember talking to 2 type 8 moms somewhat recently, and they had just met, and they'd actually never talked to another type 8 mom before, and one of them said how becoming a mom was really hard and shocking to them for reasons that they didn't hear other people really talk about,
Mm.
and it was because when the baby was born, it was the first time she realized that she had 0 control.
Mm.
Like, the baby's gonna do what the baby's gonna do, like, I mean, like, you can try, but it a lot of it is out of your control, and she felt so confused by that. She felt, out of control. She didn't know what to do, but she didn't also want to tell anyone else that vulnerability. And
Mm.
so she felt very alone and isolated in that space. And I'm curious, have you guys experienced? And then I definitely, Amanda, want you to piggyback on it to tell your
Mm.
answer too, to the other one. But is that something that you guys kind of have felt in motherhood? Just that, and I'm sure at times, there's there's times we do feel like we're in really good control, and then there's times that we don't. But when life feels that you can't fix or control it, is that a really hard place to be for as a type 8 mom?
Yeah, and I don't think I know one of the reasons we have one child is because of the level of stress and frustration that new motherhood was for me. And
Mm-hmm.
again, very fortunate that Greg stepped in on a lot. And when she was crying at night, he walked her around because I was kind of at my end and
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a lot of the tools then to
Right.
get through that in a healthy way. You just powered through. And that's not the
Mm-hmm.
best way. And, you know, a second child didn't come easily. So we just decided this is good. And that's three's my favorite number. So we're a great little family. But that level of intensity and the feeling of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm sure not being in control, I didn't have those words then, really played into that.
Yeah.
And I can circle back for the
When,
other, but I know Lindsay should answer this one as well.
Yeah.
yeah, so our story is a wee bit unique in the sense that Wesley is adopted, but we found out on a Tuesday that we were selected, and then we brought him home that Saturday. So within a span of less than a week, we found out we'd be parents, and then we were.
Hmm.
And so I remember like the biggest difficulty that I had was such a vast switch, but also I was telling Kevin, I was like, Lord have mercy, my schedule is not my own anymore at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't determine where I go, when I go. Like I am like, we are on a clock here with
Hmm.
feeding, sleeping. I mean,
Yeah.
it just, I had to grieve the
Mm.
loss of this, like, I don't know if independence is the right word, but just grieve this loss of control over
Mm.
what I could do when I could do it. Um, and I like felt like life seriously slowed down. I mean, you know, imagine
Hmm.
where you're just like cranking along in career, all of these things, and all of a sudden you're like, nope, like you have to go real slow
Yeah.
and you're going to be super tired all the time.
Hmm.
And like, you're not going to be productive. I thought I was going to be productive whenever he napped. Nope. I fell
Oh,
asleep.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
it just was like, but so I hit even a limit on capacity there, but that was a big thing that I did have to grieve and move through and
Mm-hmm.
almost like re-narrate, reframe for myself, um, to be able to like not look at it as, not to resent it in a way,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
I can
was,
relate to that. I'm sorry,
yeah.
mine came in a little later because I chose to stay home because of the overwhelm. And yes, you can
Mm.
do, as an eight, you can do just about anything, but you shouldn't do just about anything and stay sane. And again, this was pre Enneagram, pre counseling, but it was just a lot with a daycare and two full-time jobs. And we lived in Houston then with an hour commute each way, and it was just too
Oh
much.
wow.
So I stayed home and found other ways to work and be busy. But later, there was the thought, like Lindsay's saying, of a grieving almost of, wow,
Mm.
I have so many things I could have done. You know,
Mm.
I could have been a lawyer. I could have gone back to medical school. I could have done these things, but we made good choices for that time. And I don't regret the choices, but yeah, there is that you can't control that all and you can't have the capacity for that all. So you
Yeah.
have to make your choices. And I think I love that you used the word grieve because that is exactly what Greg and I talked about. Acknowledge it, name it, grieve it, and then focus on the positive because so many things
Mm.
went well.
Sure.
You just
Yeah.
can't do everything.
But yeah, we do need to recognize that
Yes.
other part too. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Amanda, sorry, I interjected that one, but go
That's
ahead and
okay.
answer the other question.
Yeah, so I think the intensity part for me came through in a lack of awareness of other people and just the getting things done without slowing down, especially with Samantha, to give any thought to how she might be feeling about something, because I wasn't connected much on an emotional level back then. It's very much action oriented. She was struggling in math in third grade, and we put her into Kumon, because you just handle it. You find the solution. Both of us being a 3 and an 8, we're both together on that. Like, okay, now she's in Kumon, and we're sitting there doing the math sheets, like almost like drill sergeant over, and not really understanding what I was probably doing to her internally. But she's good at math now. So she's in medical school. And yes, would I have done things a little differently? Probably, yeah, a little more emotionally engaged. But that, I think, is how a lot of that intensity played out in raising her. I've also, because we're very honest with one another, and I actually experienced it recently on a trip. I was highly stressed. I thought we were running late. I was holding it in, but she and I were the only ones in the car. And once I figured out we were not going to be late, I could feel the energy in the car just shift. And it just deflated. You've heard that 8's energy can be felt by others around them. And
Yes.
I was like, did you just feel that? She's like, yes. And hallelujah, because everything was so tense. The atmosphere was tense in the car, almost like you could cut it. And so being more aware of that impact on her especially, and on Greg, and then on the others in my life is really good to know, because I do think that is something, that intensity level of an 8 is almost palpable when you're in a bad place.
Right.
I don't know if Lindsay's had that same example or experience, but that was eye-opening to me. And so let me sort of circle back. I just want to finish that thought. I knew, because I'd done a lot of work, personal work, I was able to go inside and figure out what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? How can I diffuse it so I don't stay in this place, because I don't like it either. I don't want to be here. So doing the work to understand the whys behind the behavior has really paid off a lot, I think. That's what I would encourage other moms to do.
Yeah. And that's actually what I was going to get to next as we wrap up our time together. Is there's a lot of type 8 moms out there that are listening, and they might be new. They might not even know they're a type 8, but they're listening to this going, oh my word, someone is totally speaking my life. Or they're well seasoned. Whatever the case may be, they may be hearing for the first time stuff that they're experiencing, and they're stuck. They don't know what to do. What would you say to, whether it's a younger mom or just any mom that's a type 8, in recognizing and validating probably what you felt? So kind of just naming it out loud, but also what would you recommend for them moving forward?
Yeah, I would echo what Amanda said in the importance of like doing our own work, because going back to our capacity, a lot of times it's like, man, we can hold great capacity to get things done, but maybe not hold as great capacity for what's happening inside of us internally, or even knowing what's happening inside of us internally. But when we start to focus our capacity on the internal, which is the heart, we've got the emotions, we've got our desires. I mean, when we start to expand that, then what the gift we get to offer our kiddos is that we can sit and hold their big emotion, and it doesn't scare us. And we're not trying to shut it down. We're not trying to stop it. We can be in there with them, just like Romans 12:15 says, that rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who are weeping. We're able to just be with our kids, and they can feel our presence and our attunement in there. And we're not fixing, we're not problem solving. We're just there with them, and we're saying, we can hold it. Like, we're that safe, secure attachment that we can hold this. My kiddo, he's free to feel a big range of emotions. And that's like when it gets real big, which it does often, It's great because it gets real, because he's allowed to feel such a range of emotions. He can feel joy to the nth degree, and he can feel anger to the nth degree. Because when we start to try to contain one, it starts to contain the other. And
Yeah.
so being able to hold that capacity for him to go, I can hold your anger. Now I will help you be able to share it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
It's not going to be disrespectful or rude or but I can hold your anger. I can help make sense of your anger, and I can just be with you in your anger, or you're left out, or you're sad, or you're misunderstood. And that breeds so much trust,
Hmm.
between the two of us, and between us as parents. And I think that's the difficulty that I've seen with a lot of parents, is like the inability to be able to be with their kids' emotions because of
Mhm.
it. We didn't know how to be with our own. And so that's what I would say. Take that, like, you know fire, ready, aim, and then go go into and let's go into that with somebody else. And just like to Amanda's point, where she found a therapist, that's what we're supposed to do anyways. Going and figuring out what's happening inside of us alone, we usually don't yield great results. Like, we're
Mhm.
designed for connection. Like, that's what God
Yeah.
created us for. And so to be able to do that with safe others is really important. And
Mhm.
I mean, I've been through a lot of therapists. So you have to find one that you feel like can hold
Yep.
you, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because there have been several where I'm like, man, I will chew you up and spit you out. Like, you're not the one that can sit with me, because I don't
Right.
think you can
Mhm.
hold this. And I can tell
Yep.
pretty quickly if I pick up the
Mhm.
nervousness in you of sitting with me, like, we don't need to have this conversation. So it's
Yeah.
okay to find somebody that can hold you in that too.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's so
Mhm.
good. Amanda, what about you?
Yeah, I totally agree with finding your people. Again, eights tend to have a small group of their
Mhm.
people. And even within that small group, find someone you can talk to about maybe how you're feeling. I remember during therapy and working through this too much, I was sitting on the edge of a pool with a close long term friend, and I actually took the chance to open up, which is
Mm,
hard, and talk to her about this idea of too muchness. And her answers surprised me in a very positive way, that that's not how, it was
yeah.
very encouraging that that's not how I'm read in certain circles. And, it was good to open up to her and some others. So being willing to find those people and take a chance to open up and be vulnerable that way, I think is important.
Mhm.
Again, tapping into the emotional side, very much what Lindsay said. I love the emotion wheel. Again, came through my therapist, and when I began to get down to the root of what that anger really is, what is that frustration rooted in, I began to understand
Yeah.
myself better, and then could also relate to others and share that information. I'm a huge fan of sharing resources. So I've sent that emotion wheel to so many people. And for a type 8, especially, I think the book, The Dance of Anger, is huge. I
Mm.
think it's the first book written about female anger,
Hmm.
based on research. So it was helpful for
Interesting.
a type 9 friend of mine who wasn't as in touch as much with her anger. And then I read it, and it was a good resource as well. So I'm very much
Wow.
resource based, and, find the tools that work for you, find your people that work for you. Therapy, of course, I think is fantastic. The
Yeah.
Enneagram can also help keep you on a good track. I just love all that
Yeah.
God is showing us on how we can become who He made us to be. He's
Yeah.
giving us a peek into that.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks so much. I just really encourage type 8 moms out there to really follow the lead of what you guys are saying, because you have so many incredible gifts as type 8 moms that are incredibly beautiful. You guys know what seats the kiddos should be sitting in, so to speak, like what they're good at. You just have this knack of knowing. And You're big at celebrating. We could literally go on and on about how Lindsay literally had a zoo in her neighborhood for Wesley's birthday.
Listen, I love me some parties. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
amen.
And anyway, you just bring so much to your kiddos. And I think anyone else out there that either has type 8 moms or is maybe married to a type 8, that celebrating them and cheering them on is just so important, because I think the world usually says negative things. And I think when people really see the heart of an 8, 8s are some of the most tender on the Enneagram. When you really see the heart of an 8, they are the greatest champions out there. So just like Lindsay, like you said, no, I'm going to pray that my son is a warrior,
Yes.
and I think that's beautiful. So thank you guys so much for sharing your heart, vulnerability with us today. And I know it's going to bless a lot of moms later. So thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks
Beth.
for the opportunity. Thanks.
I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Listening to Amanda and Lindsay and their heart for their family and their kids, the internal work that they have done to really show up with the love and the care and the protection that they offer is really inspiring. Well, again, I highly recommend that you guys get my new book, Enneagram for Moms, because I'm going to lay it out for you how you can know yourself better, become aware, attuned, but also to have that non anxious connected presence with your kids. So you can get the new book, Enneagram for Moms, at enneagramformoms.com. Plus, at that same website, there are lots of pre order bonuses that I really hope that you grab. Now, next week, I'm going to talk with Ainsley Britton, and she has a new book coming out the same day as my book for Enneagram for Teens. And these two books are going to be a great pair if you have teenagers. So get the teenage book for your teenagers, and then get my book so that you can understand yourself as you navigate and journey with your teenagers. So that's next week. I hope that you'll join us there. And remember, the Enneagram reveals your need for Jesus, not your need to work harder. It is the gospel that transforms us. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.